Wow, silence. Was that the Google Glass that did that? Good afternoon and welcome to our B2B Insights to Execution event. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here on such a sunny afternoon. We're expecting massive dropout, but clearly, we have had big draws in terms of the packed agenda that we have. We've got great insights pieces from both CEB and Cara Enterprise. We've done joint research with both companies that will give us great insights that we can execute from. But before we get started in terms of the agenda, I wanted to lay a couple of housekeeping notes to kick us off with. All of the inspiration will come later. Let's talk about toilets. Let's talk about emergencies. So in the unlikely event of an emergency, the exits are to either side of the screen over here. You need to go back to the lift corridors, and you'll find the staircases right at the end of either lift corridor. That's also where the toilets are for the break for the T's and W's. Now, we will be recording this event. We aren't live streaming it today, though. So you will be able to access all of the presentations via our playlist on the YouTube channel. We'll also be posting all of the presentations to the event website where you originally registered. The hashtag for today is B2B Insights. So you can see it was here earlier. So B2B Insights, we encourage you to take part in conversation on the social platforms of your choice. We also have a B2B community on Google Plus called B2B Connected. So we encourage you to join that. That's where we share all of the B2B marketing and the digital information from Google. So to get started, I would love to start with a story. Start with a story of this man. Does anyone recognize who this man is? Roger Bannister, right. So May 6th was the 60th anniversary of Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile barrier. Up until that point, in 1954, in this track in Oxford, no one in the history of humankind had run the mile race faster than 4 minutes. Roger, on that day, and up until that point, what we had seen is that because everyone was expecting that the race would be run at 4 minutes and change, all of our preparations, all of our expectations, all of our training was really focused on that. But as Roger finished that race, he redefined what excellent looked like in the mile race. But the interesting thing isn't that Roger broke that 4-minute mile record. Instead, it's that 16 other people in that same year, in fact, in that same season, broke that record as well. And those 16 people were the same people that Roger ran against that season and the season before and the season before that. So what had changed? There were no medical breakthroughs. There were no Nike Air Jordan Super Zoom track shoes that allowed him to make that record-breaking run. But a couple of things happened. First of all, this kind of paradigm shift doesn't happen overnight. He was prepared, he was determined. In fact, before World War II, a couple of Swedes had already got very close to breaking this record. So had it not been Roger, it would have been somebody else. He wasn't superhuman, he wasn't unique. He was part of a wave of change that challenged the status quo, that challenged the accepted limits. And that's really the second area. Roger challenged the accepted limits. Up until that point, doctors had said that it wasn't medically, physically possible to run the mile race faster than 4 minutes. What Roger did really redefined the paradigm of excellence and performance in running, and it allowed the rest of the runners new opportunities and elevated their game to the next level. What we will be talking about today is the paradigm of business and communications and how that has been upended because of technological change. That hasn't happened overnight either. And today what we'll be talking about how the B2B industry will be meeting that challenge. Let's think about this. It took landline phones 45 years to get to 50% penetration, from 5 to 50. It took mobile phones 7 years to get to the same level of penetration. And smartphones have gone from 5% to 40% penetration in just over 4 years. What surprises us is that these leaps, these technological changes are huge. They're exponential. They're not small steps. They're not incrementals. And second thing that surprises us is how quickly these new technologies become ingrained in our everyday lives. They become the norm. They become native. So what's really the paradigm of excellence, the paradigm today, is this constant technological change. That's what's happening today. So it may seem like a small comfort, but the fact is you can be virtually certain that technology, and digital specifically with the internet, is going to be changing everything massively in the coming years. It is already doing that. The world is changing, technology is changing, and people are changing. Unfortunately, nobody knows exactly how things will change, but we can be certain that fast and unpredictable change is a certainty, and that can change the way that we adapt, how we as businesses respond to that. And if we're open to that and confront it head on, we have the chance to be the first to the future. So let's have a look at what the future might hold in these 3 key areas. So let's start big with the world. Google always starts with the world. So by the end of 2014, it's estimated that 2.8 billion people in the world will have access to the internet. That sounds like a big number, but actually was a big number about 100 years ago. That was the entire global population 100 years ago. But today, it's only 39% of the global population. Now, by 2020, global population will be hitting 8 billion people. And our executive chairman, Eric Schmidt, estimates that by 2020, 100% of the global population will be online. That's a massive, huge change, but it's possible. So the next 5 billion could be arriving soon. The world is changing. Now let's move on to technology and how technology is changing. So we're entering the world of 6 screens. 6 screens that have always on access to the internet. Can we name all 6 over here first of all? Can you just shout out which ones those are? TV. Mobile. Computer. Tablet. We're missing 2. Smartwatch. Wearable technology. Yeah. And last one? Car, right. So in-car is the last one. So let's talk about each of these and what kind of technological changes are taking place with each of them. First of all, the desktop that we love. There have been a number of recent advancements in desktop, specifically with regards to interfaces. Companies like Flutter and Leap Motions have been working on gesture recognition as an input into desktop. So replacing your mouse, so you can be hands-free on your desktop going forward. That would be pretty cool. And there's a company called Thalamic Labs that's working on muscle signals as input to digital devices. So all of these companies are working on bringing gesture recognition into the mainstream for computers. Second of all, the mobile. So smartphones, of course, in particular. In this area, there's a notable project by Motorola called Project Ara. And what Project Ara is, it's about creating a free and open developer ecosystem for mobile devices in terms of hardware. What they want to do is to have the same impact as Android had for software, but in hardware, where you can change hardware components at will. What they're wanting to do is create this really vibrant developer ecosystem that lowers the barriers of entry, increases the pace of innovation, as well as reduces the development timelines. Pretty cool. And then the tablet. So in tablet, and actually in any device that you have touch screens like tablets do, there's a really interesting development called haptic technology. I don't know if you've heard, I see nods here in the front. So haptic technology, if you haven't heard of it, is having touch screens that you can actually feel. that you have different sensations and different texture sensations on. So these are pretty cool. So you can get to real-to-life, almost real-life sensations on the computer going forward. And then moving on to TV, but not TV as we know it. So developments like Chromecast are really bringing online video, music, and films very easily to your TV. They plug into your HD TV and use your existing wireless network at your home. And you can then control them either with your smartphones, tablets, or laptops. So it's only a £30 or so investment, and you can cast anything you want onto your existing TV. So my kids love it. They watch Finnish TV every day on that, so they learn the language. And it's really much easier than using your PS3 as a browser. Trust me, I tried that for years. So great developments in terms of Chromecast. And actually, if we think about numbers and the pace of change that's happening, we can see that happening with Chromecast as well. So in the US, when Chromecast launched, and by the way, they are available in Europe now as well, they sold 1 million devices in one day. If we compare that to iPhones took 74 days to get to that, and iPads took 28 days to get to that. So again, this pace of change is absolutely accelerating. Then let's move on to wearables. And wearables like Google Glass or Samsung Gear, Samsung smartwatches, when they launched in the first 2 months, they sold 800,000 devices. That's amazing. And we're estimating that by 2017, 64 million wearable devices will be sold. And last of all, in-car systems. So these in-car systems, I don't know how many of you have heard of augmented reality or heads-up display windscreens already? So quite a few people over here. And actually, they're in market already. So there's one guy on my street. I was going to try to see if I could see how it actually works, but haven't seen it yet. And what these heads-up displays do is that they allow you to project things like your speedometer, your directions, your road hazards, phone contacts, and things like that, straight onto your windscreen. And Toyota's prototype actually allows you to zoom in on places of interest that you're passing by. So amazing again. These ones we're looking at in 2012, about 1 million cars with built-in HUD windscreens were sold, and those are expected to grow to 9 million in the coming years. So the key point over here really is that your customers, consumers and businesses are on all of these devices, on all of these screens, if not today, then in the future. And their digital experience is going to be deeper and broader than before. And the lines between online and digital, or digital and offline, are going to be blurring, and there's no two worlds. There's just one world that you experience everything in. So then let's move on to thinking about people. So as the world and technology have changed, it has bred a new breed of a customer in both business and consumer. Well, sort of. I guess the fundamental motivations of people still stay the same. And Anthony from CEB will be talking about those motivations from B2B decision-maker angle perspective. However, how we meet those motivations has changed. So let's talk about this new breed of a decision maker. What does that mean? What do? They have 3 key things. They have more access, they have more choice, and more flexibility than ever before. More access. We all know the stats. Up to 70% of the purchase cycle is complete before speaking to a salesperson in B2B. Why is that? It's because people have the choice. They have the information and access to all of the information that they need without having to speak to a salesperson. I mean, you would rather not speak with a salesperson if you didn't have to, until the very late stages when you do. And up until that point, you don't want to be influenced. So you want to be in control. And really, digital has enabled people to be in control and find you instead of you finding them. So the 2 key information sources that people are looking at in that research purchase, the top 2 across any kind of value of purchase or size of company, is your own website and your competitor's website, of course, and search engines. So there's still a lot of work to be done in making sure that you're using search and your website more effectively to get into the consideration set. Second of all, you have more choice. And the more choice really comes in the form of media and type of information that you're consuming. And we're seeing that more and more B2B decision makers are preferring to consume content in a video format as opposed to text. If I take myself as an example, I got a really interesting white paper about 6 weeks ago. And that white paper, I sent it around to my colleagues because I thought it was really, really good. And it was really relevant for me. And I thought that others should see it as well. That white paper has now been developed into a video, a 2-minute video that actually I think is much more impactful. Not only have I shared it with my colleagues who have shared it with others, I've also shared it across all of the social platforms, and they're again being reshared over there. So again, video is just much more impactful in having an easy way to communicate complex issues and topics which we often deal with in B2B. And we see that 75%, so 2/3 of executives are watching business-related videos on a weekly basis. So again, I think that from the content as well as advertising perspective, there's still much more that could be done in video. And last of all, more flexibility. So more flexibility really comes in terms of the different devices. And we see that 15% of the searches in the UK in B2B are already coming from mobile devices. And unfortunately, the experiences that we have and that we as marketers give to those B2B decision makers for their primary business communication device aren't really as good as they should be at the moment. We're seeing that 7 out of 10 business decision makers would actually happily even buy on a mobile device. At the moment, we're not even giving them an easy way to leave their lead details, let alone buy. So lots more to be done on mobile devices as well. Now, recapping that, so the world isn't standing still. We live in an accelerated world. The world is changing, and the next 5 billion will be arriving soon. Technology is changing, and new technologies get adopted very quickly into our everyday lives. They become the norm. And last of all, people are changing. They're doing more, and they're demanding more. So what does that mean for your business? How can your business make the most out of these opportunities that people, technology, and the world coming online is presenting? Essentially, if world, technology, and people and opportunities that marketing provides are moving faster than your business, you will be left behind. However, if you can adapt to that change, if you can take advantage of it, you have the chance to grow exponentially. So in order to win, you need to exceed the pace of change in the market. So let's have a look at examples of companies that are doing this. And start with Argos. You're probably wondering why we're talking about Argos, but I'll explain right at the end. So Argos is a great example of a company and a business who understands that they need to change based on the way that people and technology is changing. They need to, retailers in general, need to adapt to mobile and multi-channel commerce, because if they don't, their competitors will win over. Argos has been on a 3-year journey of digital transformation. They have set themselves as a goal to become the digital retail leader. That's really, really profound, first of all. It goes all the way down to their business strategy and changes not just their marketing, but the way that they operate, everything that they do. And they're doing really, really well at that. So this started in 2012, so they're 2 years into their business transformation program. And today, they drive 73% of their sales from their digital channels. They view their desktop, their digital, their mobile, and their tablet channels as their primary channels, and their stores as supporting channels. That's a huge change for what used to be very much a catalog and store-driven business. It's now a digital leader in the space. Why am I talking about Argos? Aren't we here to talk about B2B companies? I'm talking about Argos because I believe it's very much the same in B2B as it is in consumers. We're seeing that this pace of change, the change in technology and people, has hit the consumers first. And we're seeing that in the retail space because you can easily see the impact that it has on your bottom line. How well are you responding to the changes in technology and people's behavior? We can't necessarily see it as easily and quickly in the B2B space. We're generating leads and we have long sales cycles. However, I think it's exactly the same as it is for Argos. So when we speak to our customers, we ask them what kind of percentage of leads in this instance are you generating in B2B from digital? And many of them are saying to us that they generate more than 70%, exactly like Argos, from digital. A majority of those come from Google. So if that's the case, if your business doesn't generate more than 70% of their leads from digital, I would be asking, why is that? What are we doing? Do we need to be rethinking what we're doing at the moment? Are we responding to all of the changes in the market? Let's look at another example of digital excellence, Simply Business. And we talk about Simply Business a lot, but we truly love everything that they do. And they're a great example of innovation. Actually, the Simply Business company, it's a business insurance company, they were founded to revolutionize the business insurance industry. They were founded because they felt that the offline insurers weren't providing the best choice, best options, and best service to their customers, and they wanted to revolutionize that. So innovation really is embedded into the culture of the entire company. Their CEO, Jason Stockwood, talks about their build, measure, learn approach, which really empowers people in their company to think of new and different ways to address their business challenges, as well as to engage with their customers. And this is really ingrained in their marketing as well. So Simply Business competes against the behemoths like Money Supermarket with 70 million plus marketing budgets and huge resources. Simply Business is a company that certainly doesn't have that budget. They certainly don't have the resources of Money Supermarket. However, what they've done really, really well is, first of all, use digital as a really effective sales channel. But secondly, what they've done really well is looked at how can digital help them get into the consideration set using content and video-driven social media. And this is really the behemoth that they're competing with. So you can see Simply Business at the bottom, Money Supermarket, and Compare the Market at the top in terms of interest. And what they did is that they decided that they would focus on what the customer cares about. They would not just talk about business insurance. They would talk about all of the things that small businesses struggle with, whether that would be marketing, whether that would be tax or legal advice, analytics, data, whatever it might be. And they set up a always-on content strategy that was video and social-led. And then they created multiple pieces of advice and content to help those small businesses on it. They've had great results. They have, off the back of it, they've had twice the social visibility of Money Supermarket. And now if you search on Google for social media guide, Simply Business comes up #1 on organic results. That's amazing. So last example of digital excellence is really around content and how to embrace digital content. So we're seeing that video is really an important piece in that, where the B2B marketing recently conducted some research with IT and productions that looked at, that said that the content area where the majority of the growth is going to be coming from is video, because it's more impactful for marketers as well. So what we need to do is we need to be able to create digital-first experiences that are unique, that are shareable, that provide value or entertain. So I want to show you a couple of examples of those. So first of all, I'm not going to show the video, so you can watch them at your leisure afterwards. Who has seen this GE healthcare ad with Mr. Smith and the Matrix? I think only Googlers at this point. So I guess that's a great example. Well, they've created videos that are around their healthcare and their deep sea mining technology, and they've used TV ads that they've then promoted to an extent with digital. They haven't created digital-first experiences. And they've got 850,000 views off the back of it. I would say good, but not great. Could have done better. Could have probably used digital better. And I've got a couple of examples of companies that have used digital better. So IBM, first of all. How many of you have seen this video of a boy and his atom? So that is probably about a quarter of the room have seen that, which is great. It's a great thought leadership video around how IBM innovates. It's the world's smallest movie. It doesn't talk about IBM solutions. It doesn't talk about their products. Instead, it inspires people for what IBM's doing. And what they've been able to do off the back of that is that on their YouTube channel, when people have gone through the front door effectively of this video, they've garnered a lot of views on their other content that is related to their products and solutions and services. So that has helped them get into the consideration set where they wouldn't have otherwise. And they've had 5 million views off the back of that. Now, this is a great example of a digital-first experience and content that's shareable, content that people want to see. And last of all, who has not seen this one? Seriously. Everyone's seen it, right? No hands going up for not seeing it. Okay, so I don't have to talk much more about it, except to say that this is officially the best B2B marketing video ever of Volvo Trucks. Clearly has gone beyond B2B audiences to get to the 72 million views that we see over here. However, it has been really, really impactful on the B2B audiences as well. It's a great piece of hero content that has got the message of dynamic steering capabilities exactly to the core. And we've seen huge surge in searches by people that are interested in Volvo Trucks on dynamic steering capabilities off the back of it. So my point across all of these things is, first of all, these don't happen overnight. Volvo, in this instance, has been investing in online video content that's unique and shareable and that's digital first for years already. And they have had great pieces. Have a look at other pieces that they've done. This is their biggest hit by far. So these are great hero pieces of content. In addition to these hero pieces, which you can't be doing all the time, you need to have great hygiene content. And hygiene content is content that people are looking for then when they're actively in that research process. So how can you have content that's relevant? Where do you have a right to play? And then how can you have a great, deep hub strategy with your channel as well to have deeper engagement with your customers? So to summarize, the pace of change is accelerating. Today is the slowest pace of change that we will see. So the pace of change today is the slowest that we will see. It's changing the world, technology, and people. And in order to drive growth, companies need to exceed the pace of change in the market. And in order to do that, for businesses, it means upending traditional old ways of thinking and engaging with customers. It means perhaps being digital first or even mobile first. It means about innovating in strategy and tactics. The wave of change from a technology and digital perspective hit the consumer and SMB audiences first, but it's no different to enterprise. So the two themes that we'll be talking today are people and technology. We'll leave the world to one side. Clearly, we can't solve the world in one day or in one session, even at Google. Instead, we'll focus on technology and people. And we have great speakers to really help us understand how can we win the hearts as well as minds of those B2B decision makers, and how can we start to unravel how data and technology can be used to engage with customers in a more meaningful way and drive better company results for you as well.